What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome back to another edition of MVP Sports Live, right here on twitch.tv or youtube.com. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
I feel like one of these times we should have it to where, like, when I reach my hand over, right as I do that, like a fake hand comes out of your screen, I'm pointing to you.
Yeah, coming off.
on the other,
on the right side.
No, other side. It's the other side. But it's like,
see, it's so far.
It's like Dave has a little stick.
At least, but
Dave just has a stick he holds up, and it's got like a prosthetic on it. It's like I'm reaching over into his screen, but we are back.
Best I can give you is a high five. That's about it.
Yeah, we're bad at that too. Well, I'm bad at that. But we're back for another edition talking sports and all that cool stuff. Today, Stan Van forming a fucking wall, and in New Orleans, we're talking about some NFL stuff, maybe a trade that could go on between the Warriors and the Wizards, and much more. Before we get into it, Discord, join it. Link down below if you're on YouTube, !Discord, into Twitch chat if you're on Twitch. If you want to throw us a few bones and support us, patreon.com/MVPvids is one way you can go ahead and do that. You can also throw us a sub on twitch.tv, where we are live every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. But like I said, we're also on YouTube, MVP Sports as well. So go follow us on Twitch and sub to us on YouTube. But Dave, jumping into the first topic today, we mentioned last week that there's a possibility Stan Van Gundy was going to be hired by the New Orleans Pelicans. We gave our thoughts then about what the hire would mean. Well, he was hired by the Pelicans. So basically, is this the right hire for the Pelicans? Is Stan Van the right coach for Zion Williamson and this young Pelicans team?
Can't say yes, can't say no. Sorry, I'm not going to be that hot take artist. Like, you can't say he is or is not the right coach when he hasn't coached him. Mm-hmm. You can't give results without proof. There's no way to say that. Now, what you can do is judge man by his past. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was one of the first people in the NBA from a coaching standpoint who played the 4-out offense with Dwight Howard running the fucking dirty job in the paint, dunking on everybody, blocking on everybody. Now, does that sound like something he could try to replicate? Yes. Did he try to replicate that with Andre Drummond? A smidge, but it didn't quite work out so well because when your best player is Andre Drummond, you're probably not going to win a whole lot of games because you got chronic issues with those legs, and he wasn't exactly the offensive force that they wanted him to be. So, he had some hits, he had some misses. Obviously, his time as a GM / was not very good. So I think limited role as a head coach. Stay focused, Stan Van, and figure out how to get the most out of, the space in that offense. You got two great defenders in the backcourt if you keep Lonzo and have Drew. Ingram, amazing, offensive weapon, should be amazing defensively with that length and wingspan. So I expect to see a lot out of this team. The problem is that, what's the group going to be like when the season starts? With Zoe having the rumors of wanting out, several of the older guys on that team being question marks. Now, one of the positives is you heard JJ Redick talk about Stan Van very positively on the podcast. He talked about how he was one of the most influential coaches he's ever played for. Just an incredibly smart guy, helped him immensely. So obviously you think that he would stay on that team. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of reasons why he should succeed. But it just comes down to, what's the expectations and who's going to make that final roster for this team.
Yeah, and the thing that even Woj said after the Sports Center came out breaking Stan Van as the head coach of the Pelicans, Wojnarowski quoted that tweet and said, "Pelicans were sold on Stan Van's ability as a teacher with a young roster, his history of building top defensive teams, and his vision for the roster in place. His personal decisions in Detroit, his personnel decisions in Detroit, was a non-factor in search. He's coming to coach." And for me, you make a good point of who's going to be on this team. But right now, I kind of have the thought process of we can't think about the what ifs. What if Lonzo's not here? Well, right now, Lonzo is here. And Bobby Marks even said, including Brandon Ingram, New Orleans has 10 players returning for next year. They also have 4 picks in the draft, 1 first, 3 seconds. and the projected 9.3 mid-level and 3.6 biannual exception available. Yep. So, like, this team right now, as we have them in place, yes, Lonzo could move if he really wants out, but, like, you look at this team, if JJ Redick comes back, and yet again, I look at this and I go, if Stan Van was an influential coach for JJ, why wouldn't JJ want to come back? You have Lonzo. You know what offensively what Zion can do if he's healthy, because he was injured and not playing a lot this year. To me, it's like the most intriguing thing is, okay, can he make this team a defensive force? Because with all the offensive potential on this team, if they can play, I don't even want to say like, oh, if they could play a little bit of defense, if they could be a mid to top defensive team in this league, like this is a team that has the potential to then be a scary team, because it's like, oh, we didn't think they could be as defensive as they could be. Stan Van made them that, and they're great offensively and live up to the potential that we thought they would offensively.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's just, expectations are tricky. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But
Dave's like, I don't want to crown their asses.
No, I don't even know if they're going to be a playoff team. Like, again, it's
a tough West.
Talk about the West next year being as difficult as it will be, and like, there's no guarantee that roster makes the playoffs. There's only a handful of teams in the West that I'm like, yeah, that's a playoff team, but there's like 12 of them now. So
I mean, what the for sure's are: Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Rockets. We would like to think so, like with the talent they have, but like
Nuggets.
Good point. So Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. Would you put the Rockets into a for sure playoff team?
If you can put the Warriors into a for sure team, I think you can put the Rockets in there.
Okay, then 5 with the Rockets. Are the Mavs a for sure playoff team? I mean, Luka getting better, fucking KP, we saw what they could do this year. Like, what? That's fucking, if we put them in, that's even just 6 for sure playoff teams. Like,
that's what I'm saying, like, and you gotta say, okay, are the Jazz gonna get worse somehow? Is Donovan Mitchell going to magically regress, and having Bojan Bogdanovic play with you during the season?
Are the Trailblazers going to get worse? Because I know they were the 8th seed.
Possibility.
Okay.
Dame's back seriously concerns me.
Okay.
Like, that's jacked up. We've heard the trade rumors. We've heard the talks about, them wanting to perhaps bring Carmelo back, but now there's counter arguments of, well, Chris Paul to the Timberwolves, and then bringing in Carmelo Anthony with him because of, obviously, they have some connections.
Yeah.
So, like, there's all these, like, convoluted things. Hassan Whiteside obviously being a question mark. It's like, the Trailblazers are the underdogs, and yes, everyone will want to root for them, and I love them as a story, but I'm not giving them a lock in the playoffs yet.
Yeah.
So, there's, like, 6 teams who seemingly are locks, and then you've got, like we talked about before, the handful of other teams who are just on the outside looking in. And our fans even commented on the last video, and they were like, hey, what about the Spurs? What about the Timberwolves? Well, I'm going to continue to meme the Timberwolves spooky because they fucking suck out there on defense. So I'm going to have fun with that until they prove me otherwise.
I mean, in a future show, we're going to have this discussion, because I saw it on Twitter today, of apparently there are rumors that even DeMar DeRozan is not happy in San Antonio. Like, there was a undisclosed agent that said that DeMar is not happy being in San Antonio. So maybe there's picking up some steam of, like, maybe DeMar goes, I want fucking out of the Spurs, which would drastically change their playoff hopes.
Well, if he wants out, he can get out. That's the upgrade.
I mean, what? He's got the player op this year?
Yeah.
The whole question is, do you turn down that money, though? Yeah, I mean, it's his decision then. Like, it's
like
one
Nick
of the
Batum.
Yeah,
Nick Batum's not going to opt out of $25 million.
But I don't know if he wants to play in Charlotte anymore.
It's just not happening. He played 22 games last year. I was reading the thread today. I was like, oof, that's right. He's enjoying the money.
Yeah, DeMar has a $27.7 million player op. Yeah. But Eric throws something in Twitch chat that I want to bring up of what's the current trade value for Drew Holiday? And is Drew Holiday a player that the Pelicans still throw around in trade rumors? Because after this year, he's got a $27 million player op for 2021.
I think it's a first plus a positive asset. So either a young prospect or someone who they see as a better fit overall for this team.
Yeah.
Which it's tough right now because when you look at Stan Van and his past success, it's been all centered around the big. And are we treating Zion as the big is the number one question you have to ask yourself. Is Zion their 5? Or is he a 4 in the light of Blake Griffin? In the light of a Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
In the light of a Draymond Green.
Because what do you see from Jackson Hayes? Is he going to be your future starting 5? Or are you... Because there are some people that are like, ditch the Jackson Hayes thing until he shows that he can be your starting everyday 5.
Well, yeah, no. Right now he's just a super athletic rim runner. And there's nothing wrong with that coming off the bench, you know? The difference is, you know, we took Gafford in the second round and they took Hayes in the first round. I think Hayes has more upside, but I think right now they're about the same.
Yeah.
Like, as far as players go, one hasn't separated themselves from the other yet. So we will have to wait and see on that. But I don't think Hayes is, you know, going to come in and crush the world to start next season to prove a point and be their starting 5. Like, he can start at the 5. That's not a problem. He's not bad. It's just he's not excellent. So it turns into that, like, okay, what's my formula for this team? If I'm deciding to play with Zion at my 5, offensively and defensively, what does that look like, and who do we need around him? Well, we need that floor spacing 4. We had played out there with why can't I never remember his name? He's
Josh.
I literally am going. He's a European player.
Oh, Nico Melli. Is that who you're thinking?
Melli
On the Pelicans.
Yeah, Melli. I keep wanting to call him Mirotic so bad. Yeah. Mirotic is so much better than him. But yeah, Nico Melli out there. Like they used him as a spacing 4. You know, is he the next Davis Bertans? I don't know, but he's an interesting piece. Is he a starter quality? That's where I think it's a stretch. I think they look for somebody better to accompany that, you know, 4 or 5 kind of a role who can be a floor spacer. You need that perfect pair for Zion. If it's Jackson, great, put him out there and be confident with it. Let them develop together. If it's not, you need to get that guy. Drew Holiday's awesome, but Drew Holiday's also in his prime. Been a two-way player for his entire career, and probably doesn't have a higher value out there than now. So I'd love to see what they could get for him. It's just who would they target? You know, what were they really trying to fill into that roster?
I've got a trade, and I don't even know if this is a good trade, Dave, but it's a thought that popped into my head after you said a first-round pick and a young asset. And I kind of think of a team that you mentioned, the Timberwolves, where Drew Holiday, to me, would be a good player to pair up with D'Angelo because, yes, I feel like offensively they could work together. Totally. But Drew Holiday defensively can cover up for the deficiencies.
All right, at least have one guard who can play defense.
Exactly. What if the Pelicans, and this works out, I tried it with the contracts. It's basically Drew Holiday for Jarrett Culver, and the Pelicans and T-Wolves swap. So the Pelicans would move up to the number 1 pick, where they could potentially take LaMelo, pair the balls up together, and then the T-Wolves would move back to 13. I'm not doing that just to pair the balls up together. I was saying the whole, like, the thing I was thinking of is, they could move up and take a point guard. Well, it just happens that the number 1 point guard is LaMelo Ball. Just happens to be.
I can't anymore. That is an interesting idea. I think the value is about right, to be honest, though. Like being able to jump from 14 to 1. And you pick up Jarrett Culver, who was a high pick last year. He still has defensive potential.
Who matching that with fucking Stan Van.
Yeah.
Eric also says, or the Pelicans take Anthony Edwards.
Or the Pelicans take James Wiseman.
Or they take James Wiseman. Shit, they could take any 3 of them. Fuck.
You could take Denny. You could take any 4 of them.
They could take Denny. Good point.
How insulting would that be if you go up to 1 and you don't take Paul? And you're like, yo, Zoe, get this. We trade up to number 1 in this draft. And you're like, oh, great. I can't wait to play with my little bro. We're taking James Wiseman. Like, how awesome would that be?
Oh,
how awkward would that conversation be?
I just like that would be.
I was waiting I was personally waiting for you,
Yeah.
because of who you are, to be like, oh well, the Bulls will just trade for Lonzo Ball, and we'll make a deal happen. The Bulls get their point guard.
I would love
We'll
that.
give them back something. Where it all works out. But Drew going off the Pelicans over to the Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
What would they want from us though? Like besides maybe the 4th overall pick and us moving down to 13, where I don't know. I mean, I guess if we get Zoe, I'm not. I don't know.
Zoe and Patrick Williams, basically.
Yeah, but I'm thinking in my head, would I rather have Zoe or Denny at that point? Of like a potential who could be there.
Question.
Now, if it's between Zoe and Anthony Bennett, I'm taking Zoe every day of my life.
You mean Anthony Edwards?
Anthony Edwards. That's right.
I know you.
I didn't even mean to do
the
that.
Same person. Edwards, Bennett, Anthony.
I've said it so. I've made the comparison so much that my brain is just like, nope, they're the exact same, Ricky.
Awful.
You got no problems. But like, what would they want from us? Like, what would be our Drew Holiday? Would we have to give up Zach LaVine in that deal? Would it be a Lowry marketing?
Why would we have to give up Zach LaVine?
No. I'm asking, like, if they're gonna, like, if we're doing like what the T-Wolves are.
Oh
and,
no, the T-Wolves want to win right now, and that's why they're already putting in. They've got their money in on 2 big men, and they've got to pay for Malik Beasley if they want him still. After the obvious offseason stuff happened. But if they want to go a different route and just go win now and get Drew Holiday, and they could run up, D'Lo, Beasley, and Holiday 1, 2, 3 out there, Cat at the 4 or the 5, and fill in whoever the fuck you want. That would probably work out really well for them if they ran like a 3-guard rotation out there. I would think that would be great for the Pels. But for the Bulls, it's just like, hey, we want to trade up from effectively Chris Dunn to Lonzo Ball in our as far as prospects go. Now Chris Dunn's better on-guard defender, Lonzo Ball better off-ball defender, Lonzo Ball immensely better passer, but they're ups and downs. So it's tough. I have no idea what we'd give up, but I just think it was just a fun proposal, just to see, the Bulls in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like. At that point, then we wouldn't have to give. I was thinking of like the 4 only because like we were talking about a Drew Holiday deal, but the Bulls, I don't think we would go to get Drew Holiday from them if we're just looking for Alonzo.
No. He doesn't fit our team or our timeline.
Speaking of,
he's a better player, but
yeah. Speaking of trades, though, there is some rumors going on today, Dave, mainly because of Brian Windhorst. So on Monday's episode of ESPN's Brian Windhorst and the Hoop Collective podcast, the following conversation took place between Windhorst and Tim Bontemps and Kevin Pelton. So Bontemps opened it up. He said, there are not a lot of teams that can trade for Beal because you have to have a lot to trade to get a guy like this. Bradley Beal is a top 15 player in the league. You have to give up value to get a player like that. Windhorst retorted with, so a team could enter the sweepstakes should he become available would be the Golden State Warriors. The trade there is pretty simple. Andrew Wiggins is involved from a salary standpoint, and then it would be the number 2 pick in this year's draft, the Minnesota pick next year, and I would also include the Minnesota second rounder next year, which I anticipate to be a very good selection. Pelton then said, we've been treating this as an offseason discussion, but inevitably it's not going to play out until the trade deadline. Windhorst then said, and that's why Golden State's offer, they'd want it, or they want to get it taken before the draft. Do you think a deal gets done, Dave? Does that even sound like, well, first off, what do you think of the deal of Wiggins, the second overall, Minnesota's pick next year, and their second rounder next year? And does this actually happen, or is this just trade rumor pipe dreams that we're trying to kind of fantasy book in the NBA?
Feels a bit like the latter, to be honest with you. Okay. Feel like this is just blowing smoke because we're bored and it's the off-season week 1, It's like, well, how many crazy dumb things can we post? What gains attraction? I mean, the NBA offseason's always fire, let me be honest.
Yeah.
But there's always great rumors, always great deals to be talked about. I literally just, Windhorst, I think it was probably the same show, was talking about how Heat are no longer targeted on Victor Oladipo because they've got our sights set higher, aka Giannis.
Yeah.
So it's like, Oh, okay. We're just spouting shit. That's the point of the season we're at. Regardless, yeah. Exactly right, Eric. I was gonna get there. Trade exception. They've got $17 million in trade exception that needs to be used. I think that's basically lined up before the draft happens.
Yeah.
So they need to burn that deal, which means that this deal, obviously, if they're saying it won't happen until mid-season, then it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like that money needs to get spent or soaked, I should say. So they're in a situation where they have to find something that happened prior to the draft. So while Beal to the Warriors would seem dumb and overpowered and broken from all standpoints, sorry for the gaming lingo, that's just, It is what it is. It's not happening. Like, get over it, you bunch of whiny babies over there in Golden State wanting to have a dynasty part 7 now. I don't want to hear it. You can't go from Kevin Durant as a third star on that team, pulling in Bradley Beal and just, reloading again. It's not fair to the rest of the league.
It's not.
Sick of this shit.
It's not fair, but I don't think you can completely rule this out. Now, for me, I do think that the greater option is that the Wizards hold on to Bradley Beal and say we're going to wait until the trade deadline, because I do believe that the Wizards are not completely sold on giving up Beal at this point.
Yeah, they're not.
Because, like, they've got this year, they've got next year, and then they have they've got 2 years because the third year is just a cap hold. They've got next year is the year where it's really going to be, okay, we either got to make a decision or end up maybe losing him. Where this year they don't have that. But on the other side, I kind of take a look at it, and the Wizards need to then decide, do we want one of the guys at the top of the draft? Where, to me, I feel like a big proponent in this deal will be what happens with the T-Wolves at number 1. That's the first off, because if, let's say, what I predicted, and I'm still going with, that the Knicks move up to number 1 and take LaMelo Ball, then if I'm the Washington Wizards, I kind of look at it and I go, well, you know what? I'm happy with Thomas Bryant. I don't necessarily need to trade up to 2 in order to get James Wiseman. And it depends on what they see from Anthony Edwards. Who would you rather have, Edwards or Bradley Beal? I'll take Bradley Beal right now. Yeah, thank you. So, like, that's number 1. I feel like the only one at the top of the draft that the Wizards would even think about trading up for is LaMelo Ball. And that is and to me, that's only based on the injury of John Wall, where if they feel like, well, fuck, we screwed up with this contract, John Wall's not going to be healthy.
He's already
and we're going to need to find the new point guard of the future, because it's not going to be John Wall. That's the only way I move up if I'm Washington, is to go ahead and get that point guard of the future, because the other two at the top, even Denny at the top, like, I don't even see them trading up for like a Denny if you want to throw him in there at number 2, because of what they have and what Bradley Beal is. Plus, it's like, when John Wall is healthy, when do they want to, them being the Wizards, want to basically say, hey, we want to see if them two can work one more time. We don't want to give up on this duo, the alphas, just yet.
They have no reason to. John Wall is healthy right now. He's been healthy. He will continue to be healthy. Like, that's the whole thing. He's had 2 years, basically a year and a half off of basketball. No, he's coming up on 2 years, I think, over winter break. Before the season restarts, it'll be 2 years officially, I believe. So, no, John Wall's healthy. John Wall looking like he's in good shape. I watched a couple of his interviews in the last week. He looks and talks like he is like more motivated than ever to come back and play hard. He's super excited.
I would hope so after missing 2 years.
Well, I mean, some people get down after their fucking injuries.
No, I know. I just would like, I'm saying, like, in the optimistic side, I would hope it'd be on the side of, I can't wait to get back out there, not the sad and down on yourself side.
Look at Chandler Parsons.
Yeah.
Man got broken, and then got broken again, and then he got broken again.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, he's not exactly super positive as a person anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you can only get kicked while you're down so many times. So, I'm happy for John Wall being happy, and he's playing. He looks like he will play extremely well. He'll probably still be a 20 and 10 kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's never been a guy who has a 3-point shot, but because he's been basically just working on his shot and rebuilding his athleticism, he might actually come back with a little bit better of a shot. Who knows? I don't think that the Wizards are going to do anything as far as risking their future right now. They have Bradley Beal, John Wall, Rui Hachimura out there. You saw a little bit of Troy Brown Jr. Show some fucking signs of life down there in the bubble. So they might actually have a crew who could put together a run in the East. To be honest, East is up for grabs at the bottom four. The bottom four. You put the bingo fucking thing. Get Sean back out here with the bingo ball thing. I will just grab it. It could be the Wizard. It could be the Wizard. Sound. That's all I'm saying. So when I look at that team, I think there's no way they're going to give up on that tandem before they get to see them play together. Now that we've seen a new offense with Bradley Beal being the head honcho, like I'm curious to see how they're going to get creative with the two of them together, because I think their offense already known for its amazing scoring. Well, John Wall is a great defensive guard. Yeah. And you tell Bradley Beal, hey, guess what? The vacation's over. You got to try on defense again. Shit's going to lock in. That's when it gets good. That's when this Wizards team goes from they were hilarious and they were entertaining because they would put up about 138 points a night to oh shit, if they actually can stop some people, slow some things down, execute a bit better because they'll have a true point guard on the court. Guess what? Turnovers down. Points off turnovers down. They're going to start taking advantage of these bad teams, and we're going to see a much better team. Now, I don't think they're not moving any pieces. I think that there are definitely holes in this roster. I'm super excited to see what they do in this draft. Because of that, it just turns into the do they need that top guy? No, they don't need a top guy. Their high pick was 110% Rui Hachimura. That was their last best pick because he was. Wait, no, what pick number was he?
He was. Let me look it up.
Because they're 9 now. Was he? Don't remember. I honestly can't remember last year.
Rui Hachimura. He was the 9th pick.
Okay, so same.
Yeah.
So if they can get another player of that caliber to play at the wing or at the 5, either the 3 or the 5 is where they're going.
Well, and I want to throw this out there because I don't know how sold I am on this. But there have been people in the Wizards side of the internet that have thrown this out that the Wizards might be thinking on drafting an Obi Toppin to play Obi at the 3 to pair him well with Rui Hachimura. There are people that are throwing that out there. I don't know how sold I am on that, but yeah, that's what we're doing.
Who thinks that's a good idea? Who? Rui's too slow to play the 3. How is Obi going to play the 3?
I mean, the thing that is what you're working with here, because Toppin to me would be, if I had a big board of what's going on for the Wizards, he wouldn't be number 1. He wouldn't be number 2. At most, he would be number 3.
You want to do a quick? I know it's a separate thing, but
go ahead.
Let's be realistic. So Edwards, Wiseman, Ball, Denny, and I don't know if there's anybody else you can say is a guarantee lock.
Yeah, the top 3 that I see being available for them are Vessel.
4 people in the draft. Those 4 people aren't going to be there. Yeah. Anybody beyond that point,
is a crapshoot.
I think Onyeka Okongwu would be amazing for them. I love Devin Vassell to them. Yeah. I personally think Killian Hayes wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think that I would go Okoro. I've got my natural whatever against this man at this point. I'm sticking to it. I don't know why, but
the only reason why I would think of Okoro being a nice pick is if John Wall's healthy, you've got John Wall, Bradley Beal for your offense. You need somebody to play defense on this team, and that's what Okoro does well. To where it's every other team I've looked at. Well.
I mean, but he was also bigger than everybody. Remember, he was a strong player who had matured ahead of his timetable.
He'd have to get in the gym a little bit and get
he's
a little
already
bigger.
A big guy comparatively. So he's coming in interesting. It's just the question of at the NBA level, you know, where does he check in at? And again, man-to-man defense is one thing. Team defense is completely different. I'd love to see that's why
because the Wizards need defense. They were abysmal defensively last year. That's why at the top of my list of what might be available, it's Okoro and Vassell.
Yeah, I've got Okongwu above both of those. I've got Halliburton above Okoro. So I go Okongwu, Vassell, Halliburton, Okoro.
Yeah, I'm thinking, let me see where I have, because I know I have Okongwu.
By 4 picks for the Wizards.
Okay, that's right. I did that. To me, Okongwu is going to be an interesting, like, he is the linchpin, or one of the linchpins of the top 10.
He's a fucking mystery to my rankings because I love him, but what I hear out of like rumor mills is everywhere. Like, I've heard him as high as 2. I've heard him as late as 12.
Yeah.
I don't understand the wide variance on him.
Like, if he's there for the Wizards, I'd think about it because, like, it just depends on how much you love Thomas Bryant and what they see as his future for Washington. But, like, if Okongwu's there, he's in the top 3. It's either Okongwu, then Okoro, or Vassell. And the only thing that, and this is the thing that I think is going to link Okoro and Vassell the whole rest of this draft process is, do you have to worry about offense from your 3? If you do, take Vassell. If you don't, take Okoro. Because
I think you take Vassell.
Just hands down?
Hands down.
Do you think Vassell's a better defender than Okoro? Okay. Yeah. Because in my mind, I would put Okoro above Vassell defensively. I think the big difference for me is that Vassell has more of an offensive game than Okoro does.
Okoro plays team defense, and whether it was a factor of that Florida State scheming, if you can get that out of him again, like he's again, his stats were compared to best defender in college.
Do you mean Vassell?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clear it up because he said Okoro and then Florida State. I'm like, I think he means Vassell there.
Vassell, train. Yeah, again, he was one of the best defenders in college.
Yeah.
His stats are insane on the defensive end. His IQ, his reach, it's all team defense and off ball. And when you watch NBA teams play, there's not so many occasions where you just get those straight up matchup. Yeah. You look at the NBA Finals. All it was a game of switches.
Yeah.
So if you can't navigate switches, if you can't communicate with your team, if you can't clog lanes with your hands to defend those passes, then you're not any good at defense.
Yeah.
Man-to-man defense, if you can stop LeBron from just doing this and backing you down in the paint, that's one thing. But, like, you're not going one-on-one with LeBron James.
Good point.
You're going 5-on-5 with LeBron James. And that's at the end of the day, that's why I value team defense and that awareness, that Matisse Thybulle side of the defense that's so valuable. I'm all in on that. Yeah. The man-to-man stuff, situational, yes, but I value it much less.
Dave, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there and as we get closer to the draft, because we got a little draft coverage in there. But let's kind of change things up, switch some gears, go to a segment that we love to do, and that is Wet Boys. These are the dampest of dudes, soggiest of shooters, moistest of men, and sometimes the mistiest of misses. Today,
no sports happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
For Dave, no sports happen. That's why we got 2 Wet Boys today. Usually, when every shit's going on, we have 3 Wet Boys. Dave gives one, I give one. The patrons at patreon.com/MVPvid, silver and above, get to vote on their Wet Boy each and every day. Today, we got 2 for you. Mine first, before the patrons. Both of them are coming from the world of baseball, as the Dodgers did a thing and won Game 1 in the World Series. And mine is Clayton Kershaw. I read today, talking about Game 1, they said there's a reason why Clayton Kershaw is going to be in the Hall of Fame when he does retire. 6 innings of work, only 2 hits, struck out 8, only gave up 1 run, helped the Dodgers immensely with their quest for a World Series. Usually this has been the Kershaw of whenever we see him in the playoffs, World Series, it's Chokeshaw. It ain't Kershaw, it's Chokeshaw. It was nice to see him go out there, be the Kershaw that we know he could be. And Dave, I think this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask you anyways. I saw on Twitter today, if you are Clayton Kershaw, which would you rather have? Would you rather have the Dodgers sweep the Rays, or would you rather have a Game 5 happen where the Dodgers are up 3-1? Because he would pitch Game 5. I think it's a stupid question. I think there's one answer and it's easy.
You take the sweep.
You take the sweep because that means you're a 100%. World Series champion. Like, come on now. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I saw that today and I was like, so you're going to pass down a World Series ring to go up 3-1 just because you get to pitch game 5.
Why not draw it out 7 so you can be a hero and try to win game 7 for your team?
Exactly. He pitches 1, pitches 5, then pitches 7. Like, why not?
Yeah. That's the childhood story right there.
That's what you got to go for.
Don't go halfway game 5. Get that week out of here.
I saw that and I was like, that is the stupidest shit I've seen. The Patrons, they went with a Dodger as well. They went with a former Red Sox Dodger. Taco Man, Mookie Betts. I call him Taco Man because he got everyone a free taco. The Taco Bell, he stole a base, stole us a taco. So you go to Taco Bell, you can get a free taco thanks to Mookie Betts. So he's the Taco Man in my case. Had a good game. Had a good one. 2 stolen bases, 2 runs, a ribby, and hit a home run, which drew in his only RBI. Dodgers up 1-0. Game 2 will be tonight, Dave. See if the Rays can tie things up. Then we're going into a topic, Dave, that I know is going to get you going. It got you going a little bit in the pre-show. And this is one where the only reason we're talking about it is because I think it is an interesting thing to think about. Now, will it happen? Probably not.
Is it interesting to think about?
I think it is, because if this happened, it would totally change up the NFL draft. And that is the fact of Trevor Lawrence basically looking at the draft saying, I don't like who the number 1 team is. I am going to come back to school for another year. I know we've had this conversation like last year with Joe Burrow, shouldn't be playing for the Bengals. We've had this conversation with Darnold when he was the number 1 pick. Andrew Luck when he was the number 1. Like, there have been guys like John Elway just straight up even refused to play for, what was that, the Colts? Was that the Colts were the number 1 pick? And he said, nah, I'm playing for USA. I'll go play baseball. But when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, the comments that were made by Roddy White, he was on The Big Lead, and he said, if I'm Trevor Lawrence, if the Jets finish with no wins, I go back to Clemson. I don't want any part of that organization. If the Jets get the first pick, don't go. Just stay 1 more year in college and just enjoy your time in college, because it would be awful for you to get drafted by the Jets, because they do not know how to put anything together over there as far as quarterbacking, as far as weapons around the quarterback, as far as anything that has to do with offensive talent. What are your thoughts on that, Dave? Just the comments alone, what are your thoughts on what Roddy White is speaking?
It's so dumb. It's incredibly dumb. It's so dumb. Like, I can't. Mm-hmm. Again, Roddy White, former wide receiver in the NFL,
mm-hmm.
great player in his time, not an all-timer, not a Hall of Famer by any stretch, but just the Hall of Good. You know, that's where I would put Roddy White.
The Hall of Good.
Yeah, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Good.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredibly mature answer, though.
Okay.
And it's kind of disappointing. It's coming out of a guy who had, spent like a decade in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just he's angry about, what the product the Jets are putting out there on the field. I think a lot of people are. But that doesn't mean that somebody's, going to risk their livelihood on, maybe a different team will suck more next year.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully I won't hurt anything in the next year, because we know how one injury can change a person's career.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that people weren't even playing in bowl games now is totally normal. 5 years ago, that was a conversation for like, oh, is this guy selfish? Does he not care about his team? And it's like, dude, he's about to go make like $20 million. I don't care what my team wants. Mm-hmm. I'm not playing in that bowl game. Now it's like, I don't even have to play a season. Like, we watched, what was it? Out of Ohio State, the defensive tackle.
Oh, Chase Young. Oh, Joey Bosa.
Bosa took an injury early on. He's like, I could come back.
Yeah,
or I could collect that paycheck.
I remember Brandon and I talked about that because he got injured against TCU. Yep. And then he could have came back later and said, nah, brah, I'm fucking focusing on the draft. I'm going to focus on my career.
Make my millions. Like, I'm already the best pick. So it's like,
the Bosas have always been like that, though. Like, we had Nick was the same way with his, like, contract stuff coming out of the draft with the Chargers. But that's just because their dad was a former player. They have that kind of backing of, like, the ins and outs of, like, the industry is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
To where it's
No,
like they know the information from their dad to get the most out of their situation.
Yeah, you take care of yourself first. Like, it's one thing that we've commented, and I've praised the NBA for being such a player-forward league. The NFL is still ass backwards with a lot of things, and there are these guys who stand out because they, go ahead and make sure that number one's covered for. Again, there's no loyalty in football.
Well,
you are there for you, and if your team wins, great. You always want that. You always want success. But at the same time, you got to look at yourself, and you got to make sure that you're getting taken care of as well. Don't let people take advantage of you.
There's two parts of this in my mind, where there is the side of me that goes, because even like in the NBA, I am all for player mobility. I am all for players saying, this is the team I want to play for. I know the point of a draft is you don't get to say that. You get drafted by the team that you get drafted by.
Trying to balance the league year over year.
But I will say, like, on the side of, if you can control at least for a year, hey, I don't want to go play for them, I wouldn't hate it if he said, I'm going to go back to Clemson, because injury being the only worry, he's going to have a good sit. It's not like he's going to get worse at Clemson. They'll have a chance to win another national title with him, like they do this year. The only thing is you're going back and risking injury, which is a big thing, though. If you get injured, I mean, how far do you fall? Tua, we all thought number one pick. He gets injured. He falls a little bit. Miami's thankful for that. Here's my other side, though. So Pat McAfee, it's reported that podcast host, I'm reading this from thejetpress.com, podcast host Pat McAfee claims to have an inside source to the Jets organization who told him the Jets are actively trying to lose football games to tank for Trevor Lawrence. If they're doing that now, like, you say, okay, I'm going back. They go, all right, we'll just do it again. If the Jets are actively trying to tank for you, what stops them from actively doing it again next year? Like, Nothing. Am I wrong? What, they don't fire Adam Gase at the end of the year?
Yeah, they could not. They could be like, we're just going to roll it out with Adam Gase again. Guess what? You thought you were going to get out from under this? Nope. Going to be a Jet one way or the other. Like, they don't care. And I have no problem with that. It's part of the game at this point. Tanking is part of football. Whether you like to shit on it or not, realistically, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
You can't say that it's not. It's been part of the game subtly for years. People do it at the end of every season to try to better their own draft situation. It's not any issue. So, again, the Jets need him. The Jets will get him. This is a non-story in my mind. It's just some trash drawn up to make conversation. Now, the same way that last year was, same way that a couple of years was. Like, it's just every year. Like, well, they don't deserve Trevor Lawrence.
I don't. I hate that.
Deserve doesn't matter in the draft.
It's a draft.
Like, that's not a conversation.
Yeah.
That you don't get what you deserve. That's not how life works.
Yeah.
The draft is there to balance the league. If you're the worst team in the league, you get the best draft pick.
Yeah.
In theory, that's how it's made to balance out the league.
Unless it's the NBA. Because they have a lottery.
I think
the NHL has a lottery too. So those two, not necessarily always the worst team. But like, what was I going to say? There's the other side too of like, if I'm speaking of Trevor Lawrence now, like I feel like this is something my mom would tell me if I was Trevor Lawrence. And if I was sitting there going, I don't know, Mom, if I want to go play for the Jets, I feel like my mom would have the mindset of like, are you kidding? Like, did I raise a scaredy cat? Did I raise someone who's afraid? Like, yeah, who cares if they're not a good team? Make them good. Be the reason they get good. Like, be the reason the Jets get better. And then when you win a Super Bowl, you're going to, like, it's going to be the main story of, like, look at where the Jets were and look at where they are now. Where it's like almost you put that chip on your shoulder of, like, you know what? I'm going to be the first starting block. You got to start somewhere. I'm the best. I'm going to go do it. Two things from the Twitch chat. Eric says, the NFC East is the worst division in the NFL. Does any of those teams need Lawrence? I would say the Giants and Washington. Those are the only two that are going to be in contention for him. I think if Washington somehow gets number one, they do draft him because I don't know if you pass. I know they have Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne Haskins, I don't think they've given up on him yet. But if you have given up on him. But if you got Trevor Lawrence, you take Trevor Lawrence. Same thing with the Giants. I know you got Danny Dimes, but you take Trevor. You have Trevor Lawrence. You take Trevor Lawrence. And then Kingy says, I need my Jets to take him or trade him. I would take him and trade Sam Darnold. That's what I would do. Because you'll get at least something for Sam Darnold.
Going back to NFC East, if I was the Cowboys, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence. If I somehow get the number 1 overall pick, I don't know how at this point it would happen. They lose the rest of their games and the Jets win a couple. 100% taking Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, fuck, there are only two wins between them. The Cowboys are like, I posted today, Dave, on Twitter, and fucking Tim, I love Tim, because I'll read you his reply to my tweet. So I quoted a tweet from NFL where they posted the division leaders, and it's Steelers 5-0, Titans 5-0, Bills 4-2, Chiefs 5-1, Bears 5-1, Bucks 4-2, Seahawks 5-0, and then you got the Cowboys there at 2-4. And I go, one of these things is not like the other ones. Hashtag NFC least. And Tim, God bless his soul, replies to it and says, you mean the Bears, right?
Worst 5-1 team in NFL history right there.
But like, I look at that and I just go like, the Cowboys are division leaders in the playoffs, but they're 2 losses from being the worst team in the NFL. That's the margin right there. So I mean, there's a chance. I would also take Trevor Lawrence if the Cowboys do get the number 1 pick. Like, that's the thing. Anybody there, take the pick. You take him because he's the best quarterback.
Trevor Lawrence will not be passed on by any team in the NFL. I don't care if you have Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if you have. I mean, Tom Brady's a no-brainer. You're still taking a backup quarterback. Tom Brady's 47 years old. I don't think there's a single quarterback in the league who I would take over Trevor Lawrence.
The Chiefs trade out of it?
It's just long-term. It's just a smart move. Like, I'm not trading up for Jordan Love, but Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to take him if I'm the number 1 team in this draft.
Eric, I avoided the Eagles specifically because I love Jalen Hurts, and Hurts got to give his chance, Dave. He's got to get his chance.
I think I'd take Trevor Lawrence there, too.
I would take Trevor Lawrence there also. I just really love Jalen Hurts and want him to get his shot.
100%. I'm with you. I want him to get a shot, too. But yeah, no, it's just, look, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Jet, probably. If not, he's going to be a Falcon or a Giant or a Viking.
I would love that, please.
I just throw that out for you.
Minnesota. Please. But
yeah, like, go to a bad team. That's how the NFL works. This is not a shocker. This is not a change. Nothing in NFL history will change here. He's going to go play for a terrible team. The good news is the Jets are going to have a new head coach and a new front office. So all they're going to be doing is going, hey, we're going to get the number 1 pick this year. We're going to get a mid-20s pick, and we're going to get a pick at the top of the 2nd round, too. And I'm sorry, no, I think they have 2. Fuck, I forget their draft thing. I thought they had like a double 2nd or maybe a double 3rd or something.
You're talking about the Jets?
Yeah.
For just this year?
Yeah, what do they got this year?
Okay. Let me pull up the... Because if you're thinking just this year, Tankathon has that, but otherwise I'd have to go to future. So they've got 2 firsts, they've got a 2nd, 2 thirds, a 4th, 2 5ths, and 2 7ths.
Yeah, they got pick 31 and 33 right now. Like,
yes, 1, 2,
come on.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Come on.
They have a total of 10 picks in the draft.
3 picks in the first 33 picks. Come on, that's huge.
They have 3 of the top 33, 4 of the top 65, 5 picks in the top 100. Yeah. So
the first 33 is impressive. I'm sticking with that line.
I mean, hey, technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 100 picks, which is still 10 picks in a draft is still fucking a lot of picks.
I mean, it's going to attract, my point is, it's going to attract a lot of good talent to that organization. Yeah. So don't look at the Jets as the Jets of today.
And they're going to fire Adam Gase. Like, it's going to happen.
They're firing Adam Gase. They will have a new GM. They will have a new head coach. You're going to go get top talent to bring into this team. So if I'm the Jets, I'm 100% going, yes, I need a new quarterback. Yes, I need a new offensive line. Yes, I would love to have a running back who's not 39 years old next year. Yes, I would love to have a wide receiver who actually has a name that I know because he wasn't a practice squatter and he's not like number 7 on someone else's depth chart.
All they've got right now is Jamison Crowder. That's it, Dave. If he ain't injured, they don't have wide receivers.
Yeah, like that's the thing. They need skill position talent. Guess what? That's where young players make the most impact. Like you don't see 32-year-old fucking wide receivers out there dominating the game. No, go draft someone. We talked about how amazingly stacked the last year's draft was at the wide receiver position. We're looking at like 6 guys productive year one. I think up to 8 of them have actually had starts. So like it's instant production. Running back, you hit the league, you can get running, no problem. So I'm 100% in on like, again, today's Jets suck. Next year's Jets could be a mid-level team with a new group of talent on there. They have money to spend. They have a ton of draft picks, and they will have new, fresh minds in that front office.
Question, and this is something that just hit my brain. So the deal would have to be worked out a little bit, but let's say Tankathon, it works out just like it is. Jets take Trevor Lawrence. Washington takes Justin Fields. The Giants take Sewell from the offensive tackle from Oregon. Number 4 right now, you've got the Falcons. Would it behoove of the Jets pick up that phone, say, yo, you're looking to maybe shop Matt Ryan, so he's not your future. We've got Sam Darnold, really good. He's a really good young quarterback. We'll give you Sam Darnold, and the Falcons would probably be like, yeah, well, we'll probably want the 32nd overall pick as well, and then we'll give you like a 3rd or a 4th later on. Would it behoove the Jets to try to trade Darnold and maybe their first rounder to move up to 4 to also get Jamar Chase, the top wide receiver in the class, to then pair Lawrence and Chase coming out of this draft class?
It's not a terrible idea.
Yet again, fantasy booking now. Like, I'm fantasy trading here. That shit usually doesn't happen. But, like, I look at it and I go, you got a really good wide receiver this year. You got a really good quarterback this year. Like, giving up Sam Darnold and a first-round pick at 32, which Tankathon has you going with Travis Etienne. Wow. Fucking Tankathon has I'm going with Lawrence and then his running back in Clemson. So maybe I like that better.
That's nice. A little continuity. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think Darnold's probably worth a late 1. So if you're including Darnold plus that pick to get the number 4, that's about the right value.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that they could even do. And then, Dave, the very last thing, this isn't going to be a long topic. This is just something I wanted to throw out there because we had no college football and COVID news.
That's just funny.
But we got an OBJ in COVID news where he said, not in an arrogant way, I don't think COVID can get to me. I don't think it's going to enter this body. I don't want no part of it. It don't want no parts of me. It's a mutual respect. Like, that's not even his full comments. Like, the first, because I watched the clip, he was talking about, like, how, because there was the part of, like, he missed practice with an illness. And he did talk about, like, well, yeah, I sat out because what if I do have it? I don't want to get anyone else infected. So, like, I looked at that and I was like, okay, that's you being good. Good on your teammates, good on you. But then I heard the part of, like, I don't think it's going to enter my body. It's like, you do know this disease doesn't have no names, right? Like, it doesn't go, oh, that's OBJ. Can't infect him. Don't want no parts of that body.
He's crazy. I mean, that's all it is. This isn't even the best OBJ story of the day.
But the other one where he got banned from LSU? Is that what you're talking about? I mean,
remember how cool that scene was, though? When he's back there with the hundos, just being like, there you go. Yeah. There you go.
Just handing them out to fucking anybody. So, yeah, OBJ making those news and OBJ getting a 2-year ban from LSU as well. So, I mean,
he don't care. Nobody's going to LSU games this year. Well, he's not. Let's put it that way. No one should, but it's the fucking SEC.
Go to an LSU game, get free COVID. That's their marketing ploy because, LSU got all those cases. But so does the SEC. Dave, any final thoughts on anything before we wrap this shindig up?
No, I think it's I think it was a good show.
I liked it. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. But you guys, let us know what you guys think. If you're on YouTube, let us know what you think down below. Twitch chat, let us know what you think in Twitch chat before we wrap everything up. This has been another edition of MVP Sports Live. We're live here every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVP vids. But like I said, we're also on YouTube at MVP Sports. You can support us by either throwing us a sub on Twitch or going to patreon.com/MVP vids and throwing us a buck or two as some gases are trying to get up out of my system, Dave. Patreon.com/MVP vids is the main way to support us, or you can throw a sub on Twitch. And then join the Discord if you haven't already. Link down below in the description, or !Discord into Twitch chat. Get you in there. Dave and I will be back tomorrow for another jam-packed show of MVP Sports Live. Maybe there won't be a topic like the Trevor Lawrence one today that got Dave a little heated before the show, just because you're like, it's stupid.
Maybe is just 100% spot on. Mm-hmm. To stay in school to avoid being drafted by a team you don't want to be on is so bitch.
Yeah,
he'd be known as a coward.
Yeah,
I would never.
Tim with
Trevor
the hot
Lawrence,
takes.
The word coward would be attached at all times. I don't care if he wins a Super Bowl. He's still a coward. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. He's not, because he's not, Roddy White spouting off some dumb bullshit just to get his name on TV to be relevant again. Yeah. But that's not here nor there.
Which I did find it funny. It's like, at first I didn't, I saw the articles, the big lead, and I'm like, oh, I don't trust that source. And I was like, oh, he was on the big lead. That's why they're the only ones that have the story. Because that's where he was on, which I was like, oh, what does that even say? But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, have a good day, everybody.